Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're getting into some true creepy Reddit threads, and oh boy, do I have some insane Reddit threads for you guys today. These are some of the scariest, strangest, and creepiest Reddit threads I have ever read. So you're gonna wanna make sure to stick around, and I appreciate you stopping by. It means the world. And make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. The channel subscriber goal is 1 million subscribers, so please subscribe. And all right, this video will be long enough already, so sit back, relax, grab a drink or grab a snack, and without further ado, let's get into some true creepy Reddit threads. An ongoing saga of a woman in a horrible marriage. And just some quick clarification before getting to the story, the OP is in their second marriage. She has 2 stepdaughters with her current husband, and a son and daughter from her first marriage who are teenagers. From what I can understand, the oldest stepdaughter, now 10, lives with them full time, and the youngest stays part-time. She mentions all of the kids, and it can be confusing on occasion, so hopefully this helps, and yeah, let's get into it. Originally posted on July 2nd, 2022, with the post title being, "Was it cheating?" My husband did something, and I'm having a really hard time getting past it. We married about 2.5 years ago. The first month I was here, there was a neighborhood party. My husband's job transferred him to our current state while we were engaged, so he was here about 1.5 years before I was. A neighbor woman, Julie, was there, and she struck me as a bit odd. She never talked to me, but only to my husband. I wanted to go home after a few hours and drinks, but he said there was a bonfire at their house and he wanted to go. So I went home, and he took my stepdaughter over to this neighbor lady and her husband's place, and they came home pretty late, about 1 a.m. I was miffed because it was my birthday the next day, a Friday, and he forgot and was tired, and we didn't do anything to celebrate. Over the next couple of weeks, Julie called and texted him a lot, to the point it made me uncomfortable, and I told him to politely set some boundaries. He never mentioned her again, and the text/calls stopped. I sort of completely forgot Julie existed. Fast forward 2 years. My husband was mad at me, and so he left for a business trip, and would only say that he left my stepdaughter with trusted people. Normally, she just stays home with me. He wouldn't tell me where she was. Yes, I know this is manipulative and a douche move on his part. It was over a week that she was gone, and I was seriously sick with worry. Then another neighbor told me she was at Julie's house. This neighbor gave me Julie's phone number, and I texted her and asked if my stepdaughter was there, but she never replied. My husband also never came home that night. His flight came in. He said it was delayed, and he slept in his office, but he lied about the arrival time by 5 hours. I watched, and when I saw his car at Julie's house, and I walked up there, all I said was, "Is this where my stepdaughter was the whole time?" That lady wouldn't look me in the eyes. She just looked down and hurried in the house. She was married and at this time pregnant too. I was flabbergasted that my husband would leave a 10-year-old overnight with people he drank with a bonfire with 2 years ago, just because he wanted to upset me. I then found out that Julie and my husband have had some sort of friendship that has lasted at least since that party a couple of years ago. Part of me suspects they hung out before I ever moved here. I have to travel frequently to the state I moved from to see my kids. I found out that my husband and stepdaughters, hang out with Julie while I'm gone, but no one ever mentioned it to me or invited me along to anything. I think it is weird the kids never even mentioned it. I told my husband how hurt I was. I texted that woman and said, "I don't know what your relationship was with my husband, but we are married, and I'm asking you to respect that and leave us alone." She never replied. Christmas was coming up, and me and my husband were traveling to my home state, and at the last minute, he couldn't go. He promised me that he would not see or talk to her again. I was sad we couldn't be together for Christmas, but had a good time. My husband didn't get me a gift, but he is not a gift giver, and we are both really busy. I got home and things were better between us. I thought we were both really trying. Then cleaning, I found a small piece of Christmas wrapping paper, a present from Julie's young son to my husband. I was upset, but my husband said she just left them on the porch, and he seemed upset she did that after I said to stay away. But that was a lie too. A month or so later, I saw a photo on his phone of my husband and my stepdaughters smiling around her dinner table with her friends and husband on Christmas Eve. Apparently, my husband and stepdaughter even went shopping and got her gifts for Christmas. I spent Christmas Eve alone traveling across the country, and he never even got me a card. He says it isn't cheating, there was no intimacy involved, and she is married. But then why keep the friendship a secret for 2 years? Why not invite me along to these things? Why always wait until I'm not around to get together? Something broke in me when I saw that photo. Both my husband and Julie knew how upset I was, and it is like they thought it was funny and waited for me to get on that plane to get together and have a good laugh about me. I just can't understand how he could do that to me, his wife, on Christmas. Was this cheating? Anything I can do to move past it? She lives 3 houses down, and I swear I have PTSD from it now. And now let's get into some of the top comments. I think this is cheating, but sometimes people get hung up on the technical points, whether they were physical, whether they are dating, etc. The central point is that he is cutting you out of a whole part of his life. He sent his stepdaughter to stay with her? For God's sake, that's horribly cruel. Unacceptable in a relationship to be almost saying he trusts her more than you. Do not move past this. He is humiliating and sidelining you from your own life. Unless moving past this is a divorce lawyer, because honestly, he's already lied to you and treated you with contempt. You don't ever fix that. And then the OP responds and says, "Thank you. Honestly, this would be easier if I knew there was intimacy involved. I am not a jealous person. I don't care if he has a female friend, so I have no idea why all the deception. The one time I met her at that party, I just thought she was a little too clingy to my husband is all. She never, that I'm aware of, asked us both to hang out as a couple. And that is what I found odd. I'm thinking this is what people call an emotional affair, and my stepdaughter must be so confused. She has not seen her birth mother since she was a toddler. She was there when I married her dad at 7 years old. I came home from a trip to see my kids once, and I found a bag of $400 worth of brand new girls' clothes, tags still on, from the Gap in a room. My stepdaughter has more clothes than she can wear, bought by me. My husband told me his elderly secretary to our daughter shopping. But honestly, now I think it was Julie. What in the world? So odd. I cannot make any sense of it." And then a user replies to the OP saying, "It's absolutely an emotional affair. Your husband is hung up on the fact that they've never had intimacy, if that's even true, because he's justifying it to himself. If we don't have intimacy, it isn't cheating. But as another commenter said, infidelity is the keeping of secrets, and his relationship with this woman is highly inappropriate and suspicious. I'm surprised her husband seems okay with their friendship because it smells fishier than a fish market on a hot day with the AC broken." Another user said, "Talk to her husband. He's cheating and gaslighting you." Another user said, "This is cheating. Don't let him gaslight you into thinking it's not. At a minimum, it's an emotional affair. Both of them are disrespecting you, spending times together as if they're family, buying her gifts for Christmas while not giving you any. Do you think he just made up an excuse not to travel with you so he can spend time with her? I'm sorry, but if I were you, I will divorce his ass, move far away, and maintain no contact. That will help you move past this. Both of them know how you feel, and they both disregard it. Let them both have each other." And then the OP posts an update 21 days later, titled, "Been married 2.5 years, and it's been pretty awful." My husband can sometimes do things that are very cruel. Lately, he has used food against me. Example, he left today and took my stepdaughters for breakfast because he was mad at me. I asked him if he could bring me home something to eat, and he said no. And he added wouldn't give me any money this summer. We have no food in the house, not even bread, and he knows this. I do have water. Now it is 7 p.m. I have no food since yesterday at dinner. No gas. He took my car last night and ran it to empty. I was asleep. No money and no access to money. I'm a teacher and no paycheck until September. I also live far away from friends or family. A couple days ago, he was mad at me and took my stepdaughters and someone else out to dinner, knowing I had no food all day. He has been using food a lot to get back at me. My husband makes $200,000 a year, but is very controlling with money. I pay all own bills and provide insurance for all of us, with the exception of he has promised to cover my stuff in the summer. Last summer was the same thing. He got mad at me and refused. I'm 5 feet tall, 105 pounds as is. I just really noticed he using food as a weapon. Like he will order food for him and the girls, none for me, or order something I can't stand. Does this sound like a narcissist? Please don't just tell me to leave if I can't get a sandwich. There's no way I can do anything like move until I get a few paychecks saved. Food just seems weird. He is fixated on it in regards to me and keeping me from eating. And now let's get into the top comment. Someone says it's abuse. Leaving you home to starve and intentionally withholding food from you is a form of abuse. I would really encourage you to call the National Domestic Abuse Hotline and talk to someone who's knowledge in situations like these. And if you aren't sure if it's abuse or are feeling very confused and conflicted, they can help you to get to the bottom of it. Please tell a close friend or family member what's happening. And I know there's no point in saying this because you'll only take action when you're ready, but you really need to leave before things escalate, because they always do. And the OP replies saying, thank you. I moved 1,200 miles when I married him. My parents are deceased. I don't really have any family or support system, especially with the pandemic. It has just been work and home, work and home. He has a lot of issues I'm really struggling to understand. We didn't live together before we married, and I honestly didn't realize a lot of things. Another user says, he's abusing you. Save as much money as possible and then get out and file for divorce immediately. Another user says, why can't you order food? You're allowing him to do this to you. Get away from him. He seems to have brainwashed you. He knows you'll allow him to do this. OMG, I feel so bad for you. He is loving the power you give him. Girl, you need support. You need your own money. You probably need to leave him because you should never go hungry, especially when he makes $200,000 and you are working. And the OP replies and says, he asked me to pay for our family vacation, then didn't end up going with us. I agreed on the condition that he helped cover my bills this summer. I spent $4,000 on it in July. I just wanted our kids to have a good time, and I was excited about spending quality time as a couple too. So I'm out of money until my first payday back. I have no money in my account, and he closed our joint account. I don't know where he deposits his money now, but I feel like you should be able to trust a spouse when a financial agreement is made. I wouldn't have spent that money had I known. He makes enough. It'd be easy to cover my bills. I was more asking because sometimes he does this stuff subtly, and I am left wondering, did he realize I didn't have lunch and breakfast? Was this on purpose? And then a user replies and says, his behavior is sadistic and it's escalating. Leave now while you still can. Take a backpack and personal items you can't live without and walk somewhere out of there. Pawn your wedding ring for money. Do something to save yourself, but do it fast. He's got a plan for you, and it's not good. This is seriously a very dangerous situation. Stop asking questions about whether he's doing things on purpose, because he is. And take action to get out of your situation. Literally anyone would probably help you if you asked. And then the OP provided us with another update 3 days later, titled, "Am I Overreacting?" I'm starting to think I'm going crazy. I recently discovered that my marriage is way more unhealthy than I thought. Now this. I Googled my husband's ex-wife's name. And just for context, this is the mother of her youngest stepdaughter. And she moved to our state shortly after we married. There has been some boundary issues with them, which I have expressed concern about to both of them in the past. Anyway, I Googled her name and found out on LinkedIn that she is working for him now, as in the same office. She now works for his company. I don't know for how long. I'm just floored that neither one thought they should at least discuss it with me ahead of time. At least talk to me about it. Am I overreacting? I just thought that spouses were always consulted about stuff like that. Should I consider divorce at this point? And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, "That's weird as hell. Is it a big or small company? Like if he works at Google and now she does, might not mean they work together." And the OP replies and says, "Very small company. He is a partner in it. Less than 10 employees." Another user said, "I read your post history, OP. He gaslights you, is a cheater, and is generally abusive and manipulative. I would strongly consider if this relationship would be safe and healthy long term, because this is an abusive marriage." And the OP responds and says, "Do you know what? We tried counseling a few months ago. The counselor said I had to 100% trust him and move forward. He wouldn't listen to me. He kept saying that it was all just he said, she said, but it wasn't. I was bringing up things that really have happened. No idea how to just 100% trust and move forward if you don't even discuss the things that happened to break your trust. My husband actually smiled in the last session when I started crying like he'd won. I quit counseling after that." Another user comments, "I just read your post history. Your husband is an absolutely terrible and abusive person. He's cheating on you, leaving you at home with no food or transportation for days, completely disrespecting you anywhere you're together, talks to you very abusively. I'm sure there's more, but I saw enough skimming your other posts. Please, go see an attorney and formulate an exit strategy. You deserve happiness, or at the very least to be treated with respect. And this ain't it." And then another user comments suspecting the OP of trolling, and the OP replies saying, "Hi, I'm sorry, but I don't know what a troll test is. I know an online troll is someone who posts things to get a reaction, like they will say something nasty or very insensitive when someone has died. This post is legit. I've been trying to write without embellishment because if I am exaggerating or lying, what is the point of asking for advice anyway? My husband is a combat veteran. I love him, but he has a lot of issues. I don't want to give up on him, but I find myself constantly feeling hurt over the way he treats me, and I do question if I'm being too sensitive or reading more into things than is there. My husband is not an easy man to talk to. If I bring up something like this, he typically becomes angry if I push the matter and don't drop it right away. I just felt like working day to day with an ex-wife is something that we at least should have had a discussion about." And then the OP gives us another update titled, "Was this a drug OD? Something happened last night. Can you tell me if it sounds like a drug OD? I was in bed sleeping and my dog woke me up. I heard a noise downstairs. It sounded like my husband obnoxiously blowing his nose or grunting/snoring. It got louder and didn't stop. He ran to Walgreens at 8 p.m., left but didn't tell me. I hate it when he does that, and I suspect he buys drugs, but never have proof when he runs errands like that. Anyway, I heard this loud grunty noise and came downstairs. I found him sitting on a barstool height chair at the kitchen table, but he was bent backwards, arms and head dangling off the chair, almost touching the floor. His eyes and mouth were open, but I couldn't get him to wake up. I tried to sit him up, but he was too heavy, so I tried to lower him to the floor, but I basically dropped him. He still didn't wake up though. His eyes were open, and he was foaming out the side of his mouth. He looked blue/gray. I called 911, and they had me start CPR. Medics arrived and took over CPR. They thought he was having a heart attack. Suddenly, he became responsive again. There were 6 or 7 people in my kitchen, so I couldn't see what they were doing, but they hooked him up to a machine and said it wasn't a heart attack right then, but they wanted him to go to the hospital. He then started acting drunker than I ever saw him, which was weird. He did not appear wasted earlier, but to be honest, I was ready for bed and didn't pay much attention to him. When he got back from Walgreens, he refused any treatment. They said they couldn't make him go, but one officer said he didn't think he was drunk because you can usually wake someone up even if they're very, very drunk. He said most people would want to go to the hospital if they woke up to someone doing CPR on them. His eyes were open the whole time. They were fixed but not dilated. The pupil was very, very small. I saw my parents die in front of me, and my husband looked dead last night. After everyone left, he vomited all night and then again this morning. My husband is a combat veteran. I know he has a booger sugar problem in the past, and he used to drink a lot. I suspect he still uses, but hides it from me. Drugs have never been my thing, so I don't know what an OD looks like. I have seen heart attacks, and it reminded me of that, but he is now trying to say it was a spider bite. He has a big nickel-sized mark on his hand near the base of his thumb, but it looks like a burn to me. I don't understand why he won't go to the doc or hospital if it was a stroke or a heart attack. And then the OP posted 10 days later titled, "What kind of drug? What kind of drug would keep someone up for 2 full days? My husband did not sleep last night or the night before at all. I know this because I am a really light sleeper. I am scared he will OD now, so it is affecting my sleep, and I have to work. He insists he is not doing drugs. I know I pulled some all-nighters in college on just coffee. I don't think I could do it now at my age, and even then, not 2 days straight. He is 48 years old. Would drugs do this? Keep someone up for 2 full days? A couple weeks ago, I noticed he hardly slept all week. And then we don't get an update from the OP for 4 months. But then the OP finally comes back and says, I haven't seen my husband in 5 days or heard from him. It is killing me wondering if he is okay. The last time I went looking for him, his friend, who I have never met, screamed an inch from my face and shoved me. I swore I wouldn't go looking for him anymore. But now I can't sleep because I worry there will be a knock on the door and they will tell me he is dead. He OD'd, and I am the one who found him in September. I wonder if they know what their addiction does to us. I wonder if they care. And then the OP posts about half a month later titled Legal Advice, Abandonment. Hello. My husband has now disappeared for over a month. I moved to a state with a very high cost of living in 2020 to marry him. I make a lot less than him in education. He is an engineer who makes $200K. He has a really bad drug problem that I didn't know about before I married him. I found out he stopped paying the utilities months ago. Our gas has been shut off for over a month, so there is no heat downstairs and no water to bathe in. They are in his name, and until they are paid, I cannot do anything. He also removed me from our car insurance and hasn't paid that either. It is -30 wind chill here and 29 degrees in our house currently. He also abandoned his 150-pound dog with me. He called me Monday because he needed money and ran out of gas taking my stepdaughter to school. Please don't judge. I did go to the police just before Christmas about her welfare and was told I have no rights. I brought a gas can to him and gave him $50 and took my stepdaughter to school. I asked her where she had been staying, and she said sleeping on a couch in his office. This may be partially true. He has had a couple of affairs while married to me and has hidden her at this one woman's house at times. I have a couple thousand saved up, so I'm not sure if I should move out or get an attorney. We do not have children together. Can I represent myself? Also, can I keep his dog or find him a home? I found a place to rent, but they won't take both dogs. Please feel free to read my post history. I was really hoping my husband would get into drug treatment and counseling, but I don't think that is going to happen. Our electric will be shut off February 9th, and I need to figure something out. I don't have any family or friends here, only coworkers. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, you have no gas, no heat, and will soon have no electric. You need to move out. Work on seeing to yourself and having a safe place to live first. Then worry about the legal stuff later. And the OP responds and says, thank you for replying. From a legal standpoint, can I get in trouble for rehoming his dog if it comes down to that? I actually love his dog. He is big and gentle and elderly. I would love to just keep him, but cannot find a rental that will let me, and I am running out of time. I really don't want to have to give him away, but I just don't know what to do. And then the user replies and says, depending on what state you're in, the dog may be marital property, and you wouldn't need his permission to do the right thing and find it a good home. But when you asked him what he wants you to do with his dog in the face of the impending and actual utility shutoff, what has he said? I would suggest trying to find a rescue to take his dog. And then the OP responds and says, he says he wants him, says he is coming to get him, but he has also said he will pay the utilities, and even just yesterday said he would bring space heaters so the pipes don't freeze. Temp dropped to wind chill negative 30 degrees yesterday. Then he doesn't follow through or gets angry and blocks me when I ask. For the last 6 weeks, I have heated cups of water in my Keurig and used a bucket to bathe. The only time I've actually seen my husband was when he called me because he ran out of gas. He was nice for about a day, then went back to being mean. He did create an Instagram and bought a puppy and is going to hockey games. He posted pictures, while I have just been going to work and trying to keep the pets alive. I do pay all my own bills and provide our family health insurance. I just cannot afford this house on just my income, and since the utilities are in his name, I had no idea he stopped paying them until the gas was shut off. And then the user replies and says, yep, it is time for you to leave and put this relationship in your rear view mirror. See my other comment about taking his dog to a rescue. And then find yourself someplace to live where everything is in your name alone. Then you can work on getting the divorce or annulment, since assumedly you would not have married him if he had not concealed the scope and effects of his drug addiction before the wedding. And unfortunately, that is the last time we have ever heard from the OP. The OP has not since posted on their account, and so we have no clue what happened. And this was posted 3 years ago, or the last post was 3 years ago, so it's been a long time, and I just wonder what happened. But, I mean, just such a horrifying saga of events. I mean, it started with the OP just speculating about an affair, and then all of a sudden, the OP was being starved, and the OP's husband wouldn't feed her, and then another gap in time, and her husband had a drug addiction all of a sudden, and then he OD'd, and the poor OP had to deal with that as well. I mean, truly such a horrific saga of events. And then her husband left her, abandoned her in the freezing house, paying no utilities, And now she has to take care of the animals alone with presumably little food, no heat. I mean, it's just terrifying. It is so depressing. And I just really hope that the OP is doing better now. I mean, I really hope the OP was able to get out of that situation. And like the OP said in earlier comments, they don't have family to go to. They don't really have friends. They moved 2,500 miles from home and they have no one to reach out to. They are by themselves. And I just hope that the OP's daughter's doing okay as well. What happened to her? I feel like we had a lot of gaps. I mean, there was about a month or two gap in between each update. So a lot could have happened that we didn't see, but God, just so sad. And I really hope that the OP's doing better now. The OP's dogs are doing better now. And just everyone involved is doing better now. And hopefully the husband faces the justice he deserves because he truly was abusing her. And that was clear to everyone. Everybody in these posts was saying, please find a way to leave your husband because he is abusing you. And it is beyond clear that he was. Starving her, abandoning her. I mean, truly horrific. And not even to mention the drug addiction he hid from her. And she had to find that out and just have to deal with all of this. I mean, and also not even to mention the affair. The poor OP's life fell apart in 5 months, 5 or 6 months. The OP's entire life was flipped upside down from finding out an affair to a drug addiction, to being abandoned, to being starved. Truly, it is just so shocking. And I know I've said it a few times, but I really hope that the OP is doing better now. And I mean, I was so sad and disappointed when I was reading through this thread. And I ended on that final one with the OP asking for help. And we got no sort of close or conclusion or positive ending. We don't know what happened to the OP. We just don't know. But I really hope that the OP was able to make it out of the situation, reach out to someone, hopefully a coworker, and got the help she needed. Because, yeah, such a terrible situation. My son went to a church camp and he's come back like another person. What do I do? Originally posted to r/advice, and the post reads as follows. For some context, I, 38 female, and my husband, 41 male, sent our son, we'll call him Max, to a church camp run by one of my husband's friends. Max was so excited and didn't even seem sad when we dropped him off. The camp was 3 days long, and it was going to be some of Max's friends from youth church. He got back a little bit before Christmas, and it was like an entirely different person was controlling him. He was no longer bubbly and joyous. He spent all of his time in his room. My husband and I have to wake him up for him to get out of bed. He never has an appetite, and he's lost a visible amount of weight. He's also picked up some strange habits, like he doesn't want to sit down to do anything anymore. I don't know what happened to him. I just want my baby boy back. We got him everything he wanted for Christmas and did all of his favorite activities. But he doesn't even want to do that. Does anyone have any advice on what's going on with him? And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, take him to a pediatrician. God forbid something happened, but there might be some evidence of trauma on his body. If he never sits down, maybe he is in pain. Another user says, SA is the first thing that comes to mind. Hopefully, it's not that. Look for a therapist that specializes in trauma and can help him tell what happened to him. Another user said, unfortunately, from personal experience, this sounds like he was possibly R-worded and or SA'd. Please do not talk to people who ran the camp. If something has happened, they will deny or try to cover it up. Bring your child to a qualified doctor and go through this sequence of events with him present so they can do a physical/mental exam on him ASAP. And so he understands you support him and will do whatever it takes to help him. And then the OP gives us an update the next day, reading, update. Thank you all for the replies. Many of you confirmed what I thought was in the back of my mind. I just really hoped it wasn't true. Many told me not to tell the camp, to give them the hint that they needed to hide or something. I haven't been able to get Max in to see a doctor or a psychologist today, but he's scheduled to get in to see a doctor ASAP. I talked with him down after school and asked him about the camp. He was very secretive about it at first, but he started crying and apologizing and confirmed what most of you suspected. He told me that one of the counselors would come invite him into the counselor cabin to play a game. I'm truly horrified, and I can't believe that I couldn't tell what was wrong earlier. I told him that whatever happened to him was not his fault, and he didn't need to apologize. I held him while he cried, and then took him to his favorite restaurant and got him ice cream. He seems mildly better, but I don't think I'll ever have my son back. Max is in the shower right now, and I'm waiting for my husband to decide what to do. I've already told Max that he doesn't need to go to church if he doesn't feel comfortable, but he still wants to go to church because he likes the people there. I'll try my best to keep you updated in this mess, and I can't tell you how thankful I am for all of your replies. And now let's get into the top comment on this update. Someone says, reading the update, I am so sorry. I know you're taking him to a doctor, but you need to contact the police. This is incredibly serious, and the person that did this needs to be behind bars before he continues this behavior with other children. From personal experience, I would give him space when needed, if he's that type of teen. If he prefers to spend time with you during stressful situations, I would suggest maybe a game night, movie night, or just some time of event to spend time with him, and let him know that you think no differently of him. When I was SA'd, I felt dirty, unloved, and disgusted with myself. This might not be what he's feeling, but just in case, it would definitely be appreciated. I would also be cautious with random, unprompted touches. I know that sounds sad, but it might bring back memories/feelings regardless of who is touching him and where/how. Honestly, talking to him and asking if there's anything you can do to help and letting him know that you won't judge no matter what it is will definitely help. You mentioned that he wouldn't sit down. It's probably because he's in pain, not because he doesn't want to. And then the OP posted an update too the same day. Let's get into it. A lot of things have been happening, and I haven't really gotten a chance to sit down and update this until now. I got my son into a doctor, and they essentially confirmed what had been happening. We were able to get a psychologist appointment on Tuesday, but for now, I've been trying to do things that make Max happy, like taking him out to eat and to the arcade. In regards to my husband, he's currently staying with his mother. I told him what Max told me when he came home, and that we should immediately contact the police and get the entire camp shut down. He started yelling about how I was crazy and I was trying to ruin his friend's life, and that we shouldn't believe everything kids tell us. Holy shit, that's crazy. Oh my God, I can't believe that. That's crazy. No way this guy's defending his friend. And we shouldn't believe everything kids tell us? The doctor confirmed it, and your kid said it. Jesus, man. Oh my God. Let's continue. I think after he said that, I just went into mama bear mode. I screamed at him that he was just as bad as those people and that we needed to end our relationship. Oh my God, thank God the OP did that. I'm so glad that the OP stood up to her husband, but let's continue. He said that I was letting social media brainwash me into believing that Christians were all predators, and that Max and I were the reason pastors were believed to be predators. I screamed back and told him that it wasn't our son who was giving them a bad reputation, and that it was actual predators who were giving them a bad reputation. I packed him a bag, and I've been talking to a divorce lawyer. This whole event has turned Max and I's lives upside down, and I'm trying to be strong for him and keep faith that things will get better. Again, thank you for all of the replies and advice. And the top comment on that is, your husband putting his buddy over his own son is truly disturbing. He doesn't deserve a son. Divorcing him is your only option. He'll deeply regret this someday. Meanwhile, continue to protect your son from his toxicity. And that is the last update we have ever gotten about the situation. But God, such a deeply disturbing story. I mean, not only the revelation that the OP's son was violated in such a way and SA'd, but also the OP's husband defending the person that violated his son. Like, I mean, both are just ridiculously disgusting. I mean, a father should at all times try to protect and love their son and try to get the person who violated them in jail. But he defended him even after the doctor confirmed it. I mean, just such a terrifying and disgusting scenario. And I mean, I'm sure that the OP's husband probably tipped off the friend and was like, hey, my wife knows now that you're a predator, and so you better try to cover this up. Probably. And I really hope that the OP was able to call the police and get the camp counselor arrested. Hopefully got arrested. And hopefully she's able to divorce her husband very quickly, because there is no reason for her to be married to that disgusting man defending a predator. God, that was truly one of the most disturbing threads I have ever read. My boyfriend let my stalker ex into our apartment to leave me a birthday surprise. How do I handle this absurdity? Originally posted to r/amItheasshole relationships, and the post reads as follows. Am I the asshole for breaking up with my boyfriend after he chose me in an ultimatum? Me, 27 female, and my boyfriend, 27 male, have been dating for 2 months. We have so much in common. He's super sweet and always goes the extra mile for me with grand romantic gestures, even asking me out by buying me my favorite comic book and leaving a sticky note between the pages confessing his feelings. I've never gotten anything but amazing vibes from him this whole time until now. However, boyfriend has a childhood friend, 27 female, all call Sid. My boyfriend was very upfront when we started dating that he and Sid had romantic feelings for each other in the past, but decided it would be best they only stayed friends since they didn't want to risk their friendship. I never actually met Sid before and have only heard about her from boyfriend and vice versa. About 2 weeks ago, my boyfriend texted me, super distraught, telling me that Sid had called him, saying that she was too jealous of me and boyfriend's relationship and that she couldn't stand being boyfriend's friend while he was in a happy relationship with me. She basically gave boyfriend an ultimatum of him having to break up with me or she would cut him out of her life. I was baffled by this, thinking that this 27-year-old woman who had mutually agreed with boyfriend that they would never date was so childish to give him a ridiculous ultimatum, and I voiced that to him. He got mad at me, saying, "It's not that simple," and seemed to be seriously considering breaking up with me just to stay friends with Sid. I was in disbelief that he couldn't see how manipulative and abusive this was, and that the obvious conclusion would be to cut her off since she was clearly toxic and controlling. But he was still on the fence, and we ended up taking a break and not talking while he thought it over. The next week and a half, he barely talked to me, telling me he's in a very hard place, while I became increasingly frustrated that this would even be a hard choice. Like, we're in a happy relationship, and he's debating breaking up because his crazy friend can't handle her jealousy. I was fuming. He then finally came to me after that time of not talking, saying he decided to choose me and leave his friendship with Sid behind. But by that time, I was so mad that it was even a choice that took 2 whole weeks to decide to begin with that I ended up breaking up with him anyway. Now his friends are telling me I'm an asshole for not breaking up with him sooner because now Sid is still cutting him out for picking me over her and I'm still leaving him. Whereas if I had broken up with him during the weeks he was thinking it over, he would have at least been able to stay friends with Sid. But honestly, I didn't even realize how mad I was until he picked me and made it seem like he was some kind of martyrer for doing so. Am I the asshole? And now I'm not going to get into the comments because I don't think these comments are actually relevant for the rest of the story and the rest of the thread because, boy, does it escalate quick. But the OP updates on the same post sometime in the next month after saying update, apparently Sid has completely cut off ex-boyfriend and blocked him on everything. He is begging me to take him back, even contacting my friends to attempt to convince me. Luckily, all of my friends are telling him to F off. He wrote me some 2,000 word essay on how I'm the best thing that ever happened to him and that he was blinded by his happy childhood memories of Sid. I also found out they slept together in the past before he started dating, so that's cool. But it was just a one-night stand to see what could have been. Either way, he was definitely hiding more about this relationship with Sid than I was told. I don't really care anymore. I'm not taking him back. He's a grown-ass man who should have known better than to ghost me for 2 weeks to think it over. As if things would be the same after he decided to pick me. Doubt anything else interesting will happen, but I might update if it does. I'm honestly just hoping this will be a reality check for him, and he'll get the message. At least his friends have stopped bothering me. And then the OP gives us an update 10 months later. Let's get into it. I, 28 female, broke up with my ex, 28 male, 10 months ago, but he will not get over it. Despite me wishing to no longer interact with my ex, as well as me dating someone new, Cole, 29 male, my ex has been trying to win me back by doing over-the-top things like sending me gift baskets, love letters, chocolates, etc. Even though I've blocked his number on all social media and always ignore his attempts to woo me with his gifts. He never actually interacts with me directly, never waits for me outside or tries to talk to me. He just leaves me gifts at our doorstep and runs away. It's creepy and makes me super uncomfortable. Cole, who I live with, doesn't actually see an issue with this and says he feels bad for my ex and doesn't want me to waste my ex's money/efforts. So I reluctantly just let Cole eat the chocolates and other crap since he insists I don't throw them out. He even likes reading the love letters, even though I tell him I don't want to. I don't understand why he's so chill about this because my ex and Cole aren't even friends and have never interacted. So it makes no sense why he's so okay with my ex doing these dumb gestures that he knows make me uncomfortable and creeped out. If anything, Cole should be pissed off that someone is trying to steal his girlfriend, right? Anyway, all of this finally came to a head on my birthday. After work, I came home to our apartment decorated in balloons, chocolates, and flowers. I'm immediately touched, thinking all of this was a surprise from Cole. Nope. Apparently, my ex actually came over with all this crap, buzzed our apartment doorbell, Cole let him in, and allowed my ex to decorate our apartment and leave gifts for me. Then my ex left before I could get home. Cole apparently saw no issue with this. He literally let my ex into our apartment like it was no big deal because my ex, quote, came all the way with all these gifts, which was such a thoughtful gesture. Now I feel totally unsafe. What if my ex secretly left a hidden camera or something? I have no idea why Cole is so fine with all of this. I've talked to him over and over, but he won't understand why I would want to reject free stuff from someone who cares about me. I love Cole, but the fact that he actually let my ex into our apartment was a huge breach of my trust, and I have no clue how to deal with this. Is this relationship just unsalvageable? Or is there any way I can get through Cole's head that none of this is okay? Could Cole have ulterior motives by letting my ex do all of these things? Any advice is welcome. I just have no clue how to handle this absurd situation. Thanks. Edit. Thank you for all of the insight. Everyone, I really appreciate it. I don't have the money to do everything that was recommended, but I'm going to do some investigating into Cole and my ex possibly being in cahoots with each other and confront Cole this weekend, likely to end this cluster F of a relationship. If there's any interest, I'll update if anything significant happens. Thank you again. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, something is very wrong with Cole. What the F does he mean? He feels bad for your ex who's stalking you. Do you mind if I ask why you're already living with Cole? And the OP responds and says, cost of living mostly. I live in a very expensive city, so I was living month to month on my own. He basically offered to be my roommate so that we can go half and half on the rent / internet / utilities, and it would relieve my financial stress, which it has a lot. It might have been stupid to jump the gun at us moving in so quickly, but he had only shown green flags until now. I can technically kick him out and try to look for a different roommate if things are totally done for, since most of the stuff in our apartment is mine. Another commenter says, how did you meet Cole? And the OP responds and says, through work. We both worked together in retail for a couple of years before I moved to a proper salary job and casually stayed in touch with him after I quit. We would text just to catch up and play video games together over Steam. A couple of months after I broke up with my ex, he asked me out for coffee and things just progressed from there. Another user says, how do you know Cole and your ex don't know each other? They seem like buddies to me. How do you know Cole? How long have you been together? And the OP replies and says, I've been with Cole for almost 8 months at this point. I have no idea how the two of them could have met since they don't share any friends, went to different schools, work totally different jobs, and have completely different interests. Unless they secretly became friends while my ex has been stalking me and he's hidden that from me, which would just be absolutely ridiculous because who would want to be friends with the guy who is stalking / trying to steal your girlfriend? But at this point, I have no idea anymore. Another commenter said, I think they have become secret allies. You need to get away from Cole. In the meantime, all gifts and edibles get destroyed, cut up and coated with bleach so they can't be used, eaten or gifted. Put them in a big dumpster and send a photo to your ex each time. Tell him this is what you think of his garbage gifts. Does Cole have friends and family? If so, tell them all what he's doing. Shame is a powerful motivator. And then the OP responds and says, Cole has been the one eating all of the candies and interacting with the gifts. I do not even touch them, lol. My initial thought is maybe he wanted to keep my ex's gifts around so we could get free chocolates to eat. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he's actually that careless. His friends already know about all of this and seem to think it's funny that my ex is such a tryhard. His family lives across the country, but I could try texting them. Another commenter says, so then just deal with it if you won't put a stop to it. Just be with Jerky Cole and let him eat himself silly. Girl, you need a backbone and stay single for a while. Your picker is broken. Sorry to sound harsh, but I can't figure out why you have 2 jerks in a row and can't figure out when to break up or how to keep pests from your life. And the OP responds and says, no, you're right. My ex was easy to break up with because I'd only been dating him 2 months before he pulled some absolutely dumb crap that pissed me off so much I felt no remorse in dumping him instantly. With Cole, it's been a bit different since I've known him for years before dating and thought he was a really, really great guy until now. He's genuinely sweet in every other way except this one thing, but this one thing is definitely bad enough to outweigh the good things. It just sucks. But I have to think about my safety first. Another user says, OP, they know each other. Think about it. There is no way your ex is going to be chill, hanging out and decorating the apartment while your boyfriend is literally watching him. And your boyfriend isn't going to be chill, letting your ex do that. I'm really concerned they are in this together and you are in danger. And the OP replies and says, I'm really starting to think that this could be the case. My boyfriend is WFH, so there's a chance he caught my ex while he was dropping things off and they talked. He denies that, but I'm becoming more and more paranoid now, and I'm definitely going to see what I can do to end this relationship in case they are secretly in cahoots. And then the OP says, I'm 99% sure they weren't friends originally, but I'm starting to think they've come in contact at some point before this birthday incident, and Cole has been keeping this from me. And then the OP gives us an update 3 days later. Let's get into it. Hello all. My last post blew up a bit and many people were concerned about me, so I'm going to give you this update. I can't even put into words how insane the situation has gotten. Original post is here. When I got back home on Friday, I tried to come up with a good plan to keep myself safe while I confronted Cole in case he were to do something scary. A lot of people put the fear of God into me in the comments of my last post. I invited my very tall and intimidating younger brother over to be there while I talked to Cole. My brother couldn't come over until Sunday, so I spent a day and a half awkwardly trying to pretend everything was fine. But I must have done a shit job because Cole kept asking me what was wrong and love bombing me. Eventually, Sunday came around. My brother showed up and we grilled Cole about why the hell he's been so fine with my ex coming around with gifts and even letting him in to decorate our apartment for my birthday. I was not ready. All of you had a lot of theories. One of which came up a lot was that the two knew each other and or were working together to do this. If anything, I would have rather that been the case because the truth is so much worse. Basically, Cole has been fixated on my ex. He has essentially been stalking my stalker. Cole admitted that he made fake social media accounts, yes, multiple, to follow my ex, and has been stalking his Instagram and Facebook. Apparently, my ex has been making a lot of vent posts about me and how hurt he is that I'm not returning his feelings and have moved on so fast. And Cole has been egging him on from his alt accounts to get my ex to keep trying. The reason my ex is still stalking me is because Cole has been literally telling him to do this on alt accounts. It's obvious my ex is unstable if he's listening to random strangers telling him to keep trying. And Cole is taking advantage of his instability by planting thoughts into his head. If I am to believe Cole's words, my ex has no idea that it's Cole that's been encouraging him to keep pursuing me, but I can't be certain about anything this guy says at this point. So why, you ask, has Cole been doing all this? That is exactly what my brother and I asked. This was his answer: to give my ex false hope. Basically to bully him. Anytime my ex angst posted on his social media about me, Cole got some sick satisfaction out of watching his misery. He wanted to string my ex along to keep trying to win my heart just to watch him fail over and over. Cole finds it hilarious that my ex is wasting so much money on gifts for me and that it's him who eats the chocolates and reads the desperate love letters my ex sends to me, while I act like my ex's gifts are radioactive and avoid them. This has all been some sick game to see how long he can get my ex to keep pinning for me. Who the hell even does this? I've been living in fear for months because Cole thinks it's funny. What is wrong with him? He said he makes sure not to go too far by discouraging my ex to make direct contact with me, but I can't believe anything anymore. I've read so many stories of people who were dating someone who seemed so sweet initially, but turned out to be actually unhinged. But I naively never thought that could be me. I was so careless and dumb because I clung to someone who finally treated me with kindness, but he is a twisted man who turned my ex into a monster by feeding his delusions. I think if he hadn't done all this, my ex probably wouldn't be still stalking me in the first place. My constant fear and discomfort has just been an unfortunate byproduct of his little game of puppetry. I can't even comprehend how someone could do something like this. I'm so shaken up, I feel like I'm spiraling. Suffice to say, I'm living with my brother and his girlfriend while my ex gets the hell out. I told him he needs to move out within the week or I'm getting the cops involved. He didn't make a fuss or anything, surprisingly. He just looked at the floor like a kicked puppy. He hasn't even tried to call or text me, but I blocked him just in case. I'm going to see if my landlord can understand my situation and let me break lease early with no extra cost. But if I can't, my brother is going to cover the extra cost in the meantime, and I'll stay with him and his girlfriend until I can find somewhere else. My brother is seriously a godsend. I'm definitely going to go back to therapy as soon as possible because this whole situation has me unable to sleep at night, trust anyone, and I really need a better understanding of what are red flags in relationships. So many of you told me I was a pushover, and you're all right. It shouldn't have taken this long for me to call this relationship with Cole off. This is so effed up. But I'm safe now. I don't know what I'd do without my brother and his girlfriend. Thanks to everyone who told me to get out of this relationship because Cole was way more twisted than I ever could have thought. I don't even know if he told the whole truth, but I don't care anymore. I'm out. Gone. Never looking back. And then the OP gives us an update 11 hours later, which reads as follows. Thank you everyone for your advice and words of encouragement. I called the non-emergency police line to file a report of all of this. It wasn't super helpful other than just making a record, so I'll do a follow-up with them once I have safe access to my apartment and can collect evidence. I unblocked Cole for now to gather any text evidence, as some of you suggested, but he's been pretty quiet. He sent a photo of a couple of garbage bags full of his stuff, and he asked if he could have a day to say goodbye to my cat. I have her with me currently at my brother's place. No way am I letting her near him. I haven't replied yet. I turned read receipts off. Haven't contacted X1 yet. Still figuring out the best way to do that. Tomorrow is a stat holiday where I live, so my brother and his girlfriend will be home soon. We are working together to figure all this out. Definitely moving out of my current place as soon as I can. I'm sorry I can't reply to all the comments. I'm still pretty overwhelmed and anxious, and there are so many that it's frying my brain, but I'm trying to read most of them. I appreciate every one of you though. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, holy shit. I'm glad you updated us, but WTF. That's absolutely insane, and I'm glad you're safe. And the OP replies and says, yeah, me too. I took the week off from work because I need to just figure all of this out. I'm so full of anxiety, but my brother's trying to distract me by talking about competitive Pokemon. Bless his heart. Another user says, your brother or someone needs to tell your stalker. I have no sympathy for a stalker, but if this went down as described, he's basically been a victim of cyberbullying, and there's no way of knowing what might happen next. He needs a dose of reality for your safety. And the OP replies and says, I was so caught up in escaping that I never considered this. You're right. Thank you for reminding me. My head is such a mess right now. I'll need to brainstorm the best way to let my ex know. I hate to know how I'll react to that though. Another person says, maybe ask your brother to do it with an online message. It definitely should not come from you, and this needs to head off any communication from your ex and his fake accounts. And the OP replies and says, oh, I am definitely not going to contact my stalker ex myself. I'll probably get my brother to do it since he at least met my ex a few times while I was dating. My dumb self didn't think to record Cole's confession, so We don't have hard proof of his cyber harassment toward my ex. Just gotta hope he believes us and stops interacting with Cole's alt accounts. Though I don't know the name of Cole's alts, just that he has them, which is also complicated. And then the OP gave us another update about a week later, reading as follows. Cole has moved out. Locks have been changed, still looking for a different place to move into. The housing market here is awful. I've been staying with my brother despite Cole having moved out because I don't feel safe in that apartment. We have a nice arrangement at my brother's place, with me buying half the groceries and cooking 3 times a week. Kitty is now comfortable here. She was hiding under the bed for like 3 days. Still not sleeping well, but I'm safe, so that's what matters. I haven't talked to the police since before. I just couldn't find enough evidence in my apartment to make any kind of case since I threw out most of my stalker's ex gifts. So here's the pretty big update. Stalker X has been informed of Cole's doings. I'm just going to start calling it Stalker X James to make things easier. My brother contacted James on Facebook and told him what's been going on. We didn't have physical proof of what Cole did, nor the names of his alts, but we knew about specific details that it seems James believed us. I've been vetting everything my brother has been sending. James has informed that he checked and most of the accounts that were encouraging him stalking have been deactivated. So it further backed our story, and it seems like Cole is covering his tracks. Probably anticipated this. From the conversation, it seems that James has been wary of Cole ever since Cole let him into my apartment for my birthday. He said he didn't actually want to come into the apartment and just wanted to leave the gifts and decor with Cole. But Cole insisted he came in, and that made him feel super awkward and uncomfortable. He was worried that Cole was trying to coax him inside my apartment in order to hurt him, because the way he was acting was really off. He did his best to be in and out as fast as possible because apparently Cole just gave him bad vibes. Anyway, James seems pretty shaken. He didn't put 2 and 2 together that Cole was the one encouraging his behavior, but was starting to get frustrated by the encouragement, which James said bordered on harassment because one of Cole's alts would spam his DMs with ideas and asking for updates, and it was getting really intrusive. Why did it take this many months for him to finally feel this way? He apologized and promised he would leave me alone, telling me that this situation has him really shaken up. Smells like he wants pity, but I'm not falling for that. I don't know if I believe anything James said. I think he may have tried to play up his negative feelings about this in order to gain sympathy from my brother and me by proxy, but who knows? I'm not going to talk to him. That's hopefully it for the James side of things. On Cole's side, he has been mostly quiet, but something did freak me out. After I told James about what Cole did, Cole sent these texts, grammar and spelling edited from original texts. Why did he give James my number? Note, I didn't. Not sure how James got his number. What the F is wrong with you? Why did you tell him and give him my number? Note, again, I only did the former, not latter. Seriously? This is ridiculous. He's blowing up my phone, you piece of shit. You're such a petty bitch for this. Fucking freak. That was 3 days ago. Haven't heard anything from Cole since. Haven't replied to anything he sent. No idea how James got Cole's number, so that freaks me out, but that is currently not my problem. I went back to work today. Things are okay, but I'm still anxious. We'll update here on my profile if anything develops, but things are stable for now. I don't know if there will be much new news that James is informed and Cole is out. Hopefully things will stay stable and I can go back to my life. And then the OP gave us another update about a week later, and this is the last update we have received, but let's get into it. Hello everyone. I know it's been a hot minute, but I'd like to let you know I'm safe. I have a new place lined up, was able to break the lease early, and have not been contacted by James or Cole since earlier this month. This is just a mini update because a friend who's following James' Facebook saw him post a bunch of selfies of him at a Halloween party. In about 4 of those photos, you can see Cole in the far background. like Where's Waldo style, just way in the back / peripherals and not looking at the camera / talking to other people. This is super freaky because, as I've mentioned in an early post, and from all my knowledge, James and Cole don't know each other, except now that they had their text confrontation, which I have no idea how that concluded. So yeah, I don't know at all what is going on there, but it's making my head go to the worst case scenarios. Should I be worried that they've become friends, or is this something else? I'm feeling so paranoid now after having not heard anything for weeks. I thought things might finally be over. Is there any good explanation for this? I don't want to start spiraling again. Should I get my brother to text James to ask him? We haven't talked to him since we let him know about Cole's cyber stalking. Any advice is welcome. Thank you. Edit. I'd like to add that despite James being extremely weird and obviously unwell, he is actually very extroverted and has a huge social circle, so there is a very moderate possibility this is a coincidence, but my gut is saying it isn't. And now let's get into the top comment. Someone says, this is giving the stalker is now being stalked. My first thought is that James, being the predator he is now stalking Cole because he knows he's easy to manipulate. And the OP responds and says, I had this thought as a possibility too, but immediately went to the worst case scenario. If James is stalking Cole, then I guess that's just some oh no consequences, and I will not be touching that drama with a 5-foot pole. Someone else says, 2 words, oh God. And that is the last update we have ever received from the OP, and this was 5 months ago. So I don't know what happened, but what a wild situation. I mean, the OP's stalker is being stalked by her boyfriend or her ex-boyfriend or whatever you want to call it, but such a weird situation. I mean, that's like so ridiculous to even say, but it's also terrifying because now they could be working in cahoots and could possibly stalk the OP, or who knows what happened. But I just hope that the OP is safe, but such a crazy scenario. And like I said, I really hope that the OP is safe and she was able to, remove herself from this weird relationship that the OP's ex-boyfriends have together. This weird stalking thing going on. Very, very strange. But yeah, leave your thoughts down below. Someone left a scathing, handwritten note in my mailbox on Friday night. They brought up my dog who died from cancer, attempted to make me paranoid about the brake pads on my motorcycle, and insulted my family. I have security footage for the police, but I need more. Any additional info will help. And the OP links a YouTube link that leads us to the camera footage they're talking about, and we can see a man in a hood walking up to the OP's driveway, and he kind of paces there for a few moments, walks away, and then he slowly comes back. And then we can see the man put an envelope in the OP's mailbox. We don't know what's in the envelope. We're going to get into that later. But we can also see how the man is covering his face the entire time. Obviously, he's paranoid about being caught or something like that. But then the OP's actual title of the video is, I know Reddit can do amazing things. So he's clearly trying to figure out who did this and why. First, let's get into the envelope. On the front of the envelope, it says, Dear, my name, I guess that's the OP's name, and love, female friend's name. And now let's get into the actual letter itself that the man left for the OP. The letter reads as follows. How are ya? Haven't seen you in ages. Does Blackie still live at your house? I haven't seen her in a while. Has she moved away or something? I heard she is preggers. Gonna be one black AF baby. Also, what happened to the gray furry dog you had a few years ago? I see you have a new bike. What type of brake pads do you have on it? Tell ya, Dole bludgeon grandparents. I said hi, would ya? I don't know what he meant there. Dole bludgeon, maybe I got that wrong. Let me know down in the comments. Your mom, the camel, right? I don't know how you still live at home with such dishonorable grandparents, but props to you, mate. I can visibly see the regret and anger as it burns you on the inside, but you manage to keep it bottled up within yourself. Your boyfriend, blank, has given me the rundown on the heart-wrenching story of you and your struggles with your family, down to the nitty-gritty details. I know you must pray every night, but how do you manage to when your beat heart is not pure? Just know one thing: the truth will always hurt. So maybe just go on living your life. And maybe, mate, you're insta-private. You don't want people to know that your clothes, bike, food, and house are on taxpayer funded. Just remember that the next time you take a bite of food, that's gotta hurt your manhood, don't it? I guess that's the price to pay for being a thief. How can you claim to be an armed rights activist when you suckle on the taxpayers' teat, taking from the mouths of more deserving humans? I hope life sets better for you. Let me know if you need a hand from getting out of your situation. See ya at uni, Mr. Big Forehead, Smelly Pants, Love, Tram, and then the name is blocked off. And then the OP gives us an update and a rundown in the comments. Let's get into it. The letter. Blackie refers to my sister, who has now moved out. The red lines are just names of my friends and my IG handle. Hey everyone, first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who's taken the time to read, watch, and respond to this post. It's heartwarming to see so much support from strangers. As I write this in Sydney, it's 1:30 a.m. and I just got home from the gym. I was planning to reply to everybody in the morning, but that would be unfair because you have all taken the time to help me out. I'll use this space to answer as many common questions as possible and then reply individually to any outline questions in the morning when I have a little more time. I'm from Sydney, Australia. Both my parents are in their late 50s and not in perfect health. Dad has a lower back injury and hasn't been in the workforce for over 25 years. Mom has always been a stay-at-home mom. Needless to say, they're not in perfect health, and that's why I'm taking this seriously. If it was directed only at me, I could brush it off. But when it indirectly threatens my family, it makes me extremely furious. I have no idea who this person is. My suspicions are that it is a neighbor. Dad received a similar-ish letter about 1.5 years ago, and I'll be getting that copy and comparing the handwriting, which I will upload to the subreddit. The only letter from early last year is 100% from someone on our street. I'm not sure what neighbor it could be, and so I haven't taken the time to speak to any neighbors that I'm not on good terms with. The house directly opposite mine does have security cameras, but does not provide any angle which would help us. I checked the angles. One thing I noticed is that although it was dark, there were no flashes of lights or any indication of a car waiting or stopping, leading me to believe that they traveled on foot or parked fairly down the street. I'm 21 years old and don't have any enemies that I know of. My guess would be that someone is targeting my family based on cultural and/or economic reasons. How they got access to view my IG or Facebook, I don't know. My Instagram is on my Facebook account, so assuming they have my name, they would have access to my public IG. I won't be making it private because the letter alluded to that, and I don't want them to have the satisfaction of thinking I trembled. I also noticed that he's wearing a reflective logo on his shorts, and I tried to pause to a frame, but I vaguely see a check, so I'm guessing that it's Nike. The letter was in an envelope signed by a close female friend of mine, so I curiously opened it. Don't think we'd have the possibility of finding fingerprints anymore. The letter alludes to me being unemployed, which is not the case. I study full-time and work part-time. Once again, I can't thank you all enough for your help. It's been invaluable. I've read every comment left and I'll be responding to each of you as soon as I can. Peace. And then a user replies to this and says, sometimes the most obvious answers are the right ones. Have any distant friends or followers from uni that are mutual acquaintances or friends with the friend that signed the envelope/letter? Could it be the friend that signed the envelope/letter? Anyone who has strong feelings against government welfare? Racist? The kind of person that has a kind of distinctive walk? Does that look familiar to you? And then the OP responds and says, I think the mention of uni is a red herring. I bet if I asked the fellow what uni I attend, he would have absolutely no idea. And no, it's definitely not anybody who signed/mentioned on the letter. I'll need to keep my mind open to all possibilities, so thank you for these perspectives. And then the OP makes another comment saying, another mini update before I head back to work. Hopefully this isn't going to get buried. I spoke to the police. They weren't much help as many of you anticipated. They just made an incident report and told us that if anything threatening occurs, to call the emergency number. They refused to give us a copy of the original complaint, as it was now an official police document. They referenced some coarse language used, therefore no handwriting can be compared, and it would be speculation to assume that both incidents are related to each other. As for the boyfriend, I'm a straight male, and so I can only assume that the reason for that being written is to insult me childishly. I've been at work for most of the day, so I haven't had the time to measure the post box. I've looked around the neighborhood and found another home with security cameras, and will be approaching them tonight. If you have any direct questions, please leave them under this post so I can answer them directly. I'm not sure what my next course of action could be. I doubt this guy is harmful, and I'm certain he's doing this to simply incite a negative emotion in me. Hopefully, if I can get more footage, we can work together to figure out his motives and where he came from. It'll be some fun. Thank you all once again. Back to work, but I should be able to respond in a few hours. And then the OP gives us an update saying, I spoke to my friend's dad who is a police officer. He told me that if I go to the police with little to no leads of who did this, it would be a complaint that could be easily dismissed. He insisted I try my best to find as much information about this guy as I can. Clothing, height, shoes, build, skin tone, tattoos, limping, etc., before speaking to the police to file a report. I'm going to stick around and answer any questions you guys may have. If you suggest that I post this to another subreddit, I'm more than willing to do that. Alternatively, feel free to cross-post if you'd like. I'm using an old account for my safety, as the man in the video has stalked my Instagram and Facebook accounts. If you somehow know my main Reddit account, I urge you to please keep it confidential for the safety of my family, my doggo, and myself, as there may be some information on there that could be used to threaten me. If there is enough interest, or if it's necessary, I'm willing to post the handwritten letter after I've spoken to the police about the best course of action. Thank you, everyone. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to leave this on a cliffhanger, but the OP deleted their account, so we have no clue what happened. Those are the only public updates we can see, and I think those are the only updates the OP has posted. But, I mean, a very strange series of events. Why do you think that man left that strange and cryptic letter? Why do you think he made multiple kind of threats or alluding to threatening the OP? Very strange, and sadly, the police didn't seem like they could do anything. But what do you guys think? And like I said, I'm sorry that this is a cliffhanger. There is no sort of conclusion to this, but yeah, very strange. And to be honest, I'm surprised that the OP wasn't more concerned. The OP was like, yep, I got a scary letter. I mean, if I got a letter like that and saw the guy like pacing in front of my house and then putting it into the mailbox and hurrying away, I'd be freaked out. But the OP was like, yep, this is business as usual. Maybe it is, but still very, very strange and very concerning, because someone can go from a letter to breaking into your house very quickly. I've seen that multiple times in multiple different stalking Reddit threads. And so who knows? I just hope that the OP is all right. And they caught the man who was leaving that cryptic letter to the OP. Our neighbor is a crazy drug addict who has multiple restraining orders against him, but since his parents own the apartment, the HOA can only fine him. Originally posted to r/Bay Area, and the post reads as follows. We also own our apartment. For context, our neighbor downstairs and one over to us has had mental health issues for years and apparently is a drug user as well. A few years ago, he attacked our neighbor in the next building with a bat and spent some time in jail. Things were quiet for a while when he got out, but then he started using again and alienated both his sister and his parents, who have since moved out of the apartment and abandoned him but continued to pay rent and any fines the HOA levies against him. We are all terrified of him. He screams at everyone and bangs his apartment so badly it makes the whole building shake. There's a text thread between my significant other and I and 3 of our neighbors every time he goes off, where we rotate who calls the police every time he goes off. He screamed at my 4-year-old and made him cry one day. And the other day, he screamed at me while I was carrying my 5-month-old. I'm so scared that he's going to attack us or my children. He's surrounded by 2 other families, and they're both scared of him too. We've talked to the HOA repeatedly, but they say they really can only implement fines on a graduated schedule. So he received a $400 fine yesterday and an $800 fine today. But I get the feeling his parents will just pay the fine and be done with it. Is there anything we can do? We've contacted the police so many times it's not even funny. I'd contact a housing lawyer, but I'm not sure they'd tell me anything different than the HOA says. We just want him gone. And if he was a renter, he likely would have been. But since his parents are owners, we just feel stuck. Edit. I found this guy's record. He has 5 misdemeanors, 5 felony cases, looks like they got dismissed, and 3 domestic violence cases against his sister and parents. Oh my God. That is crazy. How is this guy not in jail? I wouldn't be surprised if his parents are terrified of him, but it's not right that he just gets to live there terrorizing us. And oh my God, this guy deserves to be in jail. 5 felony cases, even though they were dismissed, but 3 domestic violence cases against his sister and parents. Oh my God, that is crazy. But let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, damn, you are stuck in a rough place. The HOA doesn't have much powers other than finding him. The police can't do much because the guy hasn't really committed a crime yet other than maybe some noise ordinances. If you don't do anything, then yeah, he could easily attack your children or husband or any other innocent. The police can arrest him, but then what good does it do if someone is seriously injured or killed? You are just waiting for the inevitable at this point. Even if the parents stop paying the fines, to get them to boot the son out will take time because the son has tenant rights, LOL. He'll probably get more unstable during the eviction process. Damn, I don't know what you can do that's legal. I feel terrible for your predicament. And then someone replies and says, threatening people should mean getting a restraining order ASAP. Then when he violates it, the cops can do something. And then someone else says, nuisance neighbor laws will allow you to sue the owner of the unit individually in small claims court to either pay a huge amount or remove the tenant. I understand it's their kid, but losing a few $100,000 is not the same as an HOA fine. If it is a well-documented, everyone needs to press this at the same time for full effect with separate court dates, so the parents have to take time off work for each one. Basically, every adult member of the household who lives in the condo can sue for the max in small claims court. If the strongest documentation units go first, it'll be pretty easy to win. Also, the HOA can change rules if properly done to make consecutive fines greater. And then the OP posts an update post about 2 weeks later. Let's get into it. Unfortunately, our update is not a positive one. I paid a consultation fee and talked to a lawyer about what our options were in getting our neighbor to stop terrorizing us. That same day, he threw a bag of garbage at another neighbor and then fled. The lawyer said that we could pursue a restraining order, but it's a 50-50 chance that the judge would grant one. Typically, to grant a restraining order, the behavior needs to meet this threshold. Quote, Section 5027 defines harassment as any unlawful violence, a credible threat of violence, or a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that seriously alarms, annoys, or harasses the person, and that serves no legitimate purpose. Emphasis added. Section 5027 further defines harassment as a course of conduct which would cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress and must actually cause substantial emotional distress to the plaintiff. Since my significant other and I only ever experienced verbal harassment, that could qualify under course of conduct, but this interpretation is usually up to the judge. Since our crazy neighbor threw a trash bag at our other neighbor, that could be considered assault, and if it actually hit her, then it's considered battery. She ended up filing a temporary restraining order the next day. Even still, the only way we could have gotten rid of him was if he violated that restraining order and he got arrested for that violation. Otherwise, that restraining order wouldn't do much. The lawyer did say it's possible to get a restraining order to protect against verbal harassment, so if he had screamed at us again, that might have been a violation of the RO, and thus he could be arrested. With regards to the absentee parents, he said case law was against us, as typically it is very difficult to hold the parents culpable of the actions of an adult child. The HOA is also not on the hook either. He pointed to one case where a woman had spent years putting curses on other people and then went on to have an episode and killed another tenant. Damn, that's wild. The parents of the tenant tried to sue the HOA for not removing the killer, but the court ruled against them, saying that it was not expected that because the lady was crazy, that she would also be violent in such a way to end a person's life. So, the next day we resolved to file a restraining order, but turns out we didn't need one. Over the weekend, someone, likely his parents, called a wellness check on the apartment. The police apparently checked in at 1 a.m. on a Saturday and found the apartment completely ransacked. His body was in the bathroom. I don't know, man. This all sucks. I really wish he had gotten the help he needed, and that his parents hadn't abandoned him, but likely they were just as afraid of him as we were, but didn't want him to be homeless. On the other hand, he was a terrible person who terrorized all of us and made us afraid to live near him. After the news came out, our neighbor downstairs expressed how sad but relieved he was, and I can't help to feel the same. Is my landlord stalking me? Originally posted to r/RBI, and the post reads as follows. I, 24 female, am renting a private room and private bathroom in a home with a family of 4. My room is a loft that has stairs directly outside my door that leads down to 3 doors: my bathroom, the garage, and their home. They told me the door to their home will be locked at all times, and the garage will be my private entrance. Some backstory. This is my landlord's first time renting out a space in her house, so she is new to this. In the listing and viewing, she made it seem that even the staircase/hallway is private. I was so excited that the room, staircase, and bathroom was all private to me. Note, during this time, there was no door for my room, so right when you go up the stairs, you're automatically in. First time sleeping there. I left my place and locked both the side door of the garage and the garage door. I ended up getting locked out because the key to the side door is not the same as the garage door. She told me I should never lock the garage door, only the side door, because they need to use it as a pass-through to get to the garage. I was never made aware that this was going to be used as a pass-through prior to me signing the lease/contract. I addressed that I am uncomfortable because I thought all these areas were going to be private to me. I am even more uncomfortable because I have no door to my room. For the first week, I slept with no door while they walked back and forth from their house and garage. Having no privacy, I work night shifts, so I sleep during the day. They can easily see me or just walk in if they wanted to. She ended up giving me a key to the garage door for extra security, but I never lock it because the one time I did lock it, I was in the restroom and I heard her yell out to her daughter, "Why the F is this door locked?" I don't think she knew I was there. Next thing you know, I see them changing the locks to all their home doors. I'm guessing the garage door key was the same as their actual home key. She stated that there is a door, that it's in the wall. The door ended up not being functional. My dad had to fix it so it can actually slide and close. Once closed, there is a huge gap on the bottom, 5 inches, so no insulation or soundproofing. Another thing I was concerned with. I wanted a lock for my door. She said I couldn't lock the door because as a landlord, she needs access to my room, which I do understand, but I wanted some type of privacy and protection for my landlord. She ended up installing a swivel lock on my door, which I can lock whenever I'm sleeping, but not when I leave the premises. Some other things. When I come home, I would sometimes see my door slightly open, half open, etc. I feel like someone is accessing my room. This is the same with my bathroom door, which I always close. She never told me she had cameras pointing directly at the side door and also outside the garage door, common areas when I moved in. She got upset with me because I would come in and out of the house in the middle of the night multiple times. I'm on night shift mode, and asked why I kept coming in and out because she sees it on the camera. My overhead room light broke one time. I told her about it, and I said, "Please don't come into my room until I get home." She said, "Oops, it's already fixed." So she went into my room without my permission. I go up and down the stairs. Moments later, I hear someone open the door downstairs, turn on the hallway light for a second, turn it off, and go back into the house. Like they don't know there's a person living here. I hate how they check up on me. I just don't understand why she can protect herself and her family, but I cannot equally protect myself. She changed the locks to her doors. She has these cameras without disclosing, but I can't even have my own door or a real lock. I don't even mind if she has a key to my room. And I only have the side door as my lock I can lock. If someone were to break into the house, my room will be the first target. Security is the least you can do for a tenant. I had to sleep in a stranger's home without a door for a week. As a young woman, and they thought that this was okay. I always stress that I'm a very private person. I was thinking of putting a camera in my room. Is it illegal to put a small camera right outside my sliding door that is in the hallway? I just want to ensure that my landlord isn't going into my room and see why they are constantly checking up on me. I just need advice on this whole landlord situation. And now let's get into some of the top comments. A user comments, first of all, quoting the OP here, she said I couldn't lock the door because as a landlord, she needs access to my room. Why? She doesn't need access to your room randomly, unless it's an actual emergency, fire, or water leak. She has absolutely no business in your room without prior notice, and after you give her a time and permission, In some states, she doesn't even have the right to have a key to your door. Anyways, enforce your rights. All of them. Find out your tenant rights in your state. And then that's that. Don't feel bad or obligated. Especially us women play this BS game of being insecure about these things. Basically making ourselves miserable for no reason. You are a legal tenant. You pay rent. So this is your home. She does have rights as a landlord, but as long as you pay on time and there's no emergency, hers are pretty limited. Please take responsibility for your well-being. Know your rights and let her know too. Bring your dad to the conversation if that feels better. And the OP actually responds to this and says, she said in a case of an emergency. I honestly think she's trying to treat me like her daughters, like trying to get me included with her family. Don't get me wrong, she is also very nice. She bought me brand new appliances in my room that cost over $1,000 prior to moving in. Even bought me a new dresser. Makes me baked goods, but yeah, she can be a bit weird. This may or may not mean anything, but she's a recovering alcoholic of 10 years. Ever since the time she fixed my light, nothing weird has been happening. The only thing is them checking up on me, opening the door to check the hallway every time I use the stairs. Like, why are they checking on me? When they open the door to pass through, there's nothing but my stairs and those two closed doors. Unless they go into the garage, there's no reason for them to check there unless they're curious about me. Other than that, no more moved doors. I'm still going to install a camera. But thank you all for the responses. You're right. I need to stand up for myself. I'm usually good at this, but recently I haven't been. Along with other things in my life going south, I'm trying to navigate which to deal with first. In the beginning, I was super stern about the hallway situation because I was so damn bummed that it wasn't private. Like, how are you going to make this a pass-through when there's no door? Like, what? Also, I live in Cali. Another commenter said, move. You were not going to want to continue living there. She was not ready to become a landlord. Likely didn't do her research and didn't have the space fully prepared. Your best bet is to get out quickly and find a place that better meets your needs. And someone replies to that and says, this, the landlord rents it out to you, but in her mind, it's still hers. Leave. It will never feel safe, private, and yours. This landlord's behavior so far proves it. Another commenter says, she's a nut. Do all the things people have suggested, but also, please start looking for a new place. This has potential for escalation written all over it. And then someone replies to that and says, I agree with this. Get the hell out of there. It sounds like she became a landlord so she could violate people's privacy and spy on them. Another user said, did you actually sign a rental agreement or any paperwork? Or is this a handshake kind of deal? Regardless, if you have the option, move back home for a time and find a better situation. Simplest, most cost-effective, lesser stress option. And the OP replies to this and says, since she's never done it before, she said she'll find a contract for me to sign. I can tell the contract was just a generic rental agreement form found online. No tenant laws were listed on it, Megan's Law, etc. Just do's or don'ts, lease time, costs. I'm in Cali. And then a user replies and says, well, that's not good. You're living there without having a real contract yet? I feel like that's a yikes about her that can really affect you. Someone else says, get out of there. This feels sketchy and illegal AF. You should feel comfortable and secure in your own home. And sadly, the OP has provided us with no more updates, so we have no clue what ended up happening, but in my opinion, this entire situation is very, very strange, especially with that kind of final comment about the OP saying, I don't even have a contract I've signed. Like, this is very weird. I mean, the OP is technically now just like living in that house. It's not a legit landlord. she's not a legit tenant. I mean, yeah, just very strange. And I just wonder what ended up happening. I wonder if the landlord kept doing weird stuff, or if the OP decided to leave, or what happened. But like I said, we haven't received an update, and this was years ago, so I doubt we're going to get one. But yeah, what do you guys think? Would you guys leave if you're the tenant, or would you try to figure it out, or what would you guys do? Because I don't know. I'm just trying to think of all the options that the tenant or the OP could have taken, but I'm not sure, because this is just a very strange situation. OP's husband is obsessed with her boss. Originally posted to r/true off my chest, and the post reads as follows. My husband is obsessed with my boss, and it's all my fault. I started this job about 1.5 years ago. I can't say what it is because I want us to stay anonymous, and our country is very small, so my boss would probably be recognized. The moment I started, I felt like I was in the right place. My boss, the owner of the company, is very cool and kind. She's self-made and she loves her job. She does a lot of the dirty work herself that bosses who has 30 to 35 employees wouldn't have to do. But she just loves it. On top of that, we have a 6-hour workday. Our salaries are 20% higher than the market, and we have 7 paid vacation weeks a year. Her reasons? She appreciates us and she's getting richer anyway. I was so proud of working with a woman like her, so I wouldn't shut up talking about her to my husband, especially in the beginning. My husband was as fascinated by her as I am until he met her in a company party last Christmas. She must have been beautiful when she was young. She could have been a model. I think his fascination became a crush, or an obsession, or maybe worse. Love. Now he follows her on social media. Her accounts are private, but he stalks her with my account. He also follows the company Instagram and likes every picture she's in. He asks about her all the time. She's a very private person, but when her divorce from her ex-husband was finalized in the beginning of this year, we all found out because he started showing up to work. He owned half of her company now, and he started to try to make changes in our work hours and salaries. We found out that her husband had cheated on her with a younger girl who had also tried to employ in our company. She still works with us. She, probably lawyers involved, eventually convinced her husband to sell her back his share. We are still in the process of this now. My husband has followed all of this, and he was so sad for her and so angry. How could anyone do this when they had a woman like her? If it was him, he would cherish her, love her, blah, blah, blah. Who leaves a woman for a girl? I got very angry and told him that all men prefer younger women if they could choose. He laughed at me and told me only losers do that. The last drop was last Friday. We are out for a movie night, and we saw my boss with a young man. He looked in his mid-20s. My husband lost it. He didn't know that she dated younger men. He wanted us to go say hello, but I refused and yelled at him to control himself because he looked pathetic. When we got home, he was frantically going through her social media until he found the guy, and he sighed in relief. The guy was her nephew, and we didn't see the whole company, but they were out with other family members. My husband was so happy, like a weight lifted off his chest. I lost it on him. I started crying and yelling and told him he was in love with her, and he was shocked when I pushed and kicked him out of our bedroom. I locked the door. He stood outside trying to calm me down, telling me he loved me and I'm his girl and always will be. Then he said something that ruined me even further. It's not like someone like her would look my way. I haven't slept since then. Why is he feeling like this? Is it love? Infatuation? She's too old for my husband, so what is it? And why would he think he couldn't have her? He's very handsome and still young. She should feel lucky a young, handsome man likes her. And does he mean I'm less than her to accept him? Or is it purely her money and status? He refuses to admit anything. And what can I do now? I love this job. I love the benefits. Thanks to this job, our life has improved and we can afford more than just the necessities. I'm starting to hate my boss though, and I hate myself for idolizing her in front of my husband. Edit, sorry this is getting longer, but I've spoken to my mother, sister, granny, and some friends about this and about what happened last Friday, and they all think I'm making a big deal out of nothing. But now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, you know your husband is at fault here. Not you and not your boss. He's acting very inappropriately, and the things he said would make me feel very insecure as well. Put the blame where it lies, at his feet, for saying and doing the things he has to make you feel this way. I would say either attend therapy together or even separately, or consider a break. You need time to evaluate the situation properly, and your family isn't being very supportive by dismissing your very valid feelings. I wouldn't be asking them for advice going forward. I get they are cheaper than a therapist, but they are clearly being biased. This is not your fault. Your husband is on the hook for this one. And then the commenter quotes the OP here saying, it's not like someone like her would look my way, end quote. It sounds like he's saying that if your boss gave him a chance and looked his way, he'd probably jump at it. I understand why this is like the straw that broke the camel's back, and you don't trust this as a reassurance of anything other than your right to feel betrayed. And then someone replies to that and says, deal with the husband and try not to take any of this out on your boss. She hopefully would most likely not look his way, not because of his age or anything else, but because he's married to her coworker. The fact he got that upset seeing her out with the guy is beyond a red flag, and I would tell him he needs to figure out what he wants. Unfollow her media, not bring her up at all, and maybe even couples therapy. I also know OP likes her job, but there needs to be some distance here, whether it's a change in jobs or a strict we don't talk about my boss type arrangement is up for you to decide. And then the OP gives us an update about 2 months later. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm in so much pain and I don't know what to do. I don't want to do something stupid while hurting. I got a lot of good advice last time I was here, so I don't know. Maybe you can help me this time too? My old post is linked in my bio. I hope you read it before this one because I don't want to tell the whole story again. I went against my family and friends and asked my husband for separation. I felt like my heart couldn't take it anymore. My intuition told me that my husband wasn't all mine. This was shortly after the event at the movies. My husband was in total confusion. He said that I was making a mistake, making a mountain out of a molehill, but he moved in with his brother, however. We decided to start couples counseling too. It went well the first 3 weeks or so, but my husband became more and more reluctant to participate, and sometimes he just canceled on me last second. He stopped showing up this month, and he also stopped calling and texting me. I was even more heartbroken, but it just solidified that my intuition was right and that I was doing the right thing, seeing that he is not interested in working on us anymore. I chose not to quit my job. I still loved it with all the heartbreak, and I really needed the benefits. Like I'm the only one I know who's having a 3 weeks paid vacation around Christmas and New Year. I never see my boss anyway, and she doesn't even know of my existence. My husband eventually stopped being active on Instagram, and I thought it was normal because we were going through adversities uni yesterday when his brother shared my husband's stories of the night. My husband was in a restaurant holding a woman's hand. I could only see her hand. So my husband has just blocked me and my family and friends from seeing his updates. I commented, WTF. And this morning, my husband called me for the first time in months, totally scared, and started begging, please don't ruin this for me. Please don't ruin this for me. I told him, what do you mean? He said, don't tell her about us. I never made the connection at first. It never ever crossed my mind. That woman in the picture was my boss. I started crying and screaming at him. How could you do this to me? How could you tell me that it was all in my head when it's obviously all over your Instagram? He said it just happened. I dumped him and he was single and just happened to find her on Bumble. He begged me not to ruin this for him. She knows he's in the process of divorce, but she doesn't know that he already knew who she was or that she was the boss of his soon-to-be ex. They have been seeing each other for 6 weeks, about 2 weeks after I asked him to move, and it is getting serious. He begged for a good 5 minutes, telling me how he hasn't been happy in all his life and that I shouldn't ruin this happiness since, again, I was the one who ended our marriage. I've been crying since this morning. I don't know what to do. I want to ruin him and his happiness, but I don't know if I have any right to do that, and I'm so worried about losing my job. Please help. Edit for new information. Okay, my husband has been calling me nonstop, and I have now answered him. He is panicking about me telling her everything, so he begged me to give her the chance to tell her himself. His words were, I never stalked her or creeped on her. I just fell for her and was scared that she would think I was creepy since you thought the same. Give me a chance to tell her the truth in my own pace, so at least she doesn't think I'm a liar or a freak like you seem to think. He still swears they matched on Bumble. I didn't know what that was until now, but it is like Tinder. I'm just devastated right now. He has no regards for me and my feelings. Everything he is thinking of is not to scare her away. When I told him this, he said that I was the one who left him. People fall out of love, and that's okay and no one's fault, and that I was in the right for ending the relationship, but I was the one who ended it all the same. Don't hurt us, and I promise to give you everything you want. She is happy with me, so don't hurt us. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, wait, so they met in the company Christmas party? Does she know he's your husband? Girl, you need to talk to her. Look, don't worry about losing your job, because if they become serious, do you think your boss will still treat you fairly? There is a high chance he will give a different story. Update us once you talk to her. Do this for yourself and be strong. And the OP replies and says she probably didn't recognize him because he told me that she thinks they met on Bumble. Another user says, I think you need to tell her. If the guy I was seeing for 6 weeks happened to be stalking me before we met, I sure as shit would want to know. How much of his relationship with her is real? How much of a show is he putting on for this poor woman who's already been effed over by one man? Of course he is happy. He has the object of his desire. He literally got what he wanted. And the OP replies and says, how does he even find her on Bumble, let alone match with her and start dating her? I'm not even buying this. I also feel that she deserves the truth, but he will probably think I was being vindictive and bitter about our separation. And wouldn't she resent me if she likes him? Or would she be grateful? And then the OP gives us an update a few days later, about 3 days later. So let's get into it. Hi, I talked to my boss yesterday, Monday after lunch. I told her everything. Basically, how I was so happy I found this job, how I looked up to her and was proud to be working for someone like her, and that this rubbed off on my husband, who grew more obsessed with her each day. I apologize for using obsessed because I didn't know how things were between them, but that it was how I perceived his feeling. I told her about the day at the movie and how it basically made me realize that our issues were greater than I thought. I told her that I know and accept that my marriage is over and that my husband didn't love me anymore, and that the reason I'm telling her now isn't to judge or blame her, but to let her know the whole story, because it's just fair that she knows that he has been following her life around for over a year now. Because from what I understood from my husband, you are under the impression that you just matched him on a dating app. That's what I said. She was silent the whole time I was talking, just listening to me until I mentioned the dating app, and that's when she interrupted me. That's not how we met. He has been a patron at my gym for the past 6 months, maybe a year, she said. I know her gym. It's the one across our workplace. She works out there every morning before coming to work. I didn't know he had joined it because I knew him to be a member at the gym near our home. He has been, without telling me, working out just across the street from me every morning without telling me. She looked like how I felt, shocked. I apologized and told her that he has kept dating her a secret from me and then he begged me not to talk to her, telling me that he hasn't been this happy, and so on. She didn't say much, just thanked me for telling her. Today, she asked if she could talk to me. She apologized for everything that happened to me and asked if I needed any help. I said no. She thanked me again. When I got home, my husband was there. He had called me at least 50 times, but my phone was on silent. He was crying, calling me bitter and vindictive and pathetic. He said I ruined his relationship and future. She is scared of him now, and it is all my fault. He wants me to tell her that he is not dangerous, nor is he a perv. He wants me to tell her that I was the one who wanted a divorce, and that people fall out and in love, and it is nobody's fault, and neither is it creepy. He hasn't done anything wrong. He stayed faithful to me, and he would have stayed that way if I didn't kick him out. He asked me if I ever felt unsafe with him to make rumors about him being a stalker and a creep. I should tell the truth. I asked him to leave and that I'm starting the divorce, and from now on, he could only contact me once I got a lawyer through them. I have been crying since he left. We haven't seen each other for weeks, and he had no feelings whatsoever for me. He looked demented and full of sorrow like a broken little boy. How could he change this fast? Before he separated, he held me and begged me to believe him and his love for me. Was it all a lie? My whole entire relationship? Good night, and thank you for the support. This is a throwaway, and I will be deleting it soon. I just thought I would update before doing that. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, thanks for updating, OP. I'm glad you got to tell your boss and that she listened to you. Now you know how much of a creep your ex is. He openly stalked her at the gym all year, and your boss is quite rightly scared. I just can't believe he would have kept all that crazy inside himself if you'd stayed together. I'm concerned for you, OP. You shouldn't be living alone while your ex is behaving so desperately. Can you have a friend come and stay? And then someone replies saying, OP, don't answer any of his calls. Save all messages and voicemails. That man is unhinged, and you and your boss should be careful. If this behavior continues, please look into getting a restraining order. Also, please keep your boss updated and show proof of any erratic behavior so that she can take the proper steps to protect herself. OP, also change locks, passwords on all accounts, and get cameras. And I completely agree because, the OP's husband just lost everything. And when someone loses everything, they do totally irrational behavior or do something irrational. And so, he just lost his wife and also lost his new love interest, and everyone thinks he's a creep and stalker, which he is, but that makes someone even more dangerous than he already might have been. So hopefully the OP took the right precautions and properly got the security that she needed. But this is the last update we have ever received, so I'm not sure what happened. Hopefully the OP was able to divorce the husband pretty quickly, and it wasn't a long, drawn-out process, but God, such a wild and creepy situation. Our neighbor's dog was poisoned. Police want to look through our internet history, a very nebulous term. Wife says we should let them because we have nothing to hide. I say absolutely not. How should we proceed? I guess some background is in order here. Earlier this year, a new set of neighbors moved in, and they brought with them 3 very loud dogs who they let bark and bay 24 hours a day. We were the first people to go talk with them, and they got better for maybe 20 minutes, and they just let the dogs back outside to continue on. Our city has a policy where noise complaints can be made to animal control, so we did that, which did nothing. The next step was to go to a city-sponsored mediation, at which point the dog's owners agreed to keep them inside. They did this for maybe 3 days, and then we were back to square one. The next step is to take them before a judge who gave them a pretty hefty fine with the add a motion to take care of the problem. This all took about 10 months with literally only a day's total of these dogs not barking. So they were quiet for about a month after the court date, but slowly and surely, they started barking again at all hours. We tried to go over and speak to them, but this time they very clearly insinuated that barking dogs were their right and we needed to get off their property. So we decided the only ways to start the process over with animal control, as well as contacting our own lawyer to see about taking them to civil court. We have yet to contact the lawyer. We had made the initial report to animal control last Thursday when we got a knock on our door, and it was an uninformed police officer who said something like, "Do you have any antifreeze?" I was really taken aback, and I think I asked, "I think so. Do you need some?" He then spoke something into the walkie-talkie on his epaulette and asked if he could come. I literally had no idea what was going on, and then he explained that one of the neighbor's dogs had been poisoned and asked if we knew them. I explained that I actually didn't know who he was talking about. The other two dogs hadn't stopped barking after the other dog died, and I really have no way of knowing which dog is which. He said it was this family and said that they had told him we had a history of, quote, being cruel to his dogs. I got out the whole file folder, including my logs talking to the neighbors, the calls to animal control, my copy of the letters, mediation agreement and judge's order, as well as written down links to the YouTube channel we created in order to document the barking via audio. The officer then asked if he could take everything. I said I wasn't comfortable with that, but I would be happy to make copies today at work and drop them off at the local substation. I did exactly this. I was met by an uninformed supervisor who said that he would like to send a specialist over to our house and look through our internet history to see what we've been looking up. Again, I was completely taken aback and said that I'm not sure what he'd be looking for. He told me that was up to them to decide what they'd be looking for. It took me a second, but I asked him to better define specialist and internet history. And he said that at this time, he couldn't do that for me. I asked him if somehow we were suspects, and he said, if I remember, not yet. I asked him if I could leave. He said yes, and again asked if this specialist could come over tonight. I said I would really rather not, but I would get back in touch with him. He gave me his card, and we said goodbye. I just got home and told my wife. My wife insists that we invite him over right now to have them look through our computer. We have nothing on there that would tie us to any sort of dog death, but I feel it's insane to just let the police look through the nebulous internet history without them being very specific as to who is doing and what they are looking for. She thinks that by not letting them, we are making ourselves look very guilty. I say we are not guilty because we aren't freaking guilty, and it's their job to find out who really did it. It sucks those people's dog died, but we have followed the letter of the law and been exceedingly patient, even though our once quiet house has been miserable for almost a year. I'm actually really annoyed that our willingness to play by the rules seemed to highlight us. Thank you very much for any advice. And now let's get into some of the top comments on this post. Someone says, my family works in law enforcement. Do not listen to your wife. Do not speak to the police without a lawyer. Your local law enforcement is starting to build a case, and you are the top suspect. Anything you say or do in front of the police can and will be used against you. You've been told you're about to be a suspect. They can then arrest you. Please get a lawyer. Another user says, this is a clear example as to why you should never talk to police. I wouldn't even make any copies of the documents or give them anything. Stop talking to them and talk to an attorney. If they keep trying to talk to you, this in no way will benefit you. They are only trying to find evidence to incriminate you. Let's hypothetically say you let them check your internet history and someone else had access to the computer without you knowing and search something about poison or dogs. That right there automatically would make you a suspect. And now you're in trouble. Don't even allow police into your home without a warrant. It bugs me when people say, I have nothing to hide, so they can check. It's not right. And who's to say they might not find something else while in your house? Because trust me, they will be looking at everything in your home the minute you let them in. Another user says, don't talk to the police. Everything you've done up until this point has only harmed you. Once that policeman made it clear he didn't want your antifreeze for practical purposes, you really needed to stop talking to them. Everything the policemen are doing right now is building a case against you. They are absolutely not trying to find out whether you did it or not. Even if the detective and prosecutor are some paragons of justice and are trying to exonerate you, you still shouldn't let them. If you let them go through your computer willingly, you also add the caveat that they can look at whatever they want and charge you with any crime they perceive without having to stay inside the scope of a pesky search warrant. Stop talking to the police without the help of a lawyer. And basically, everybody else in the comments comes to that same conclusion. Do not let the police search your house or search your internet. Do not talk to them any further without an attorney. And I completely agree. You should never speak to the police. You should only speak to the police with an attorney, because everything you say and do will be held against you if something were to happen. It's always best to contact an attorney and get them and have them do the talking for you, because you will most likely say something that will kind of incriminate yourself or harm you in some sort of way that you might not know. I mean, you're not smarter than an attorney. An attorney knows the laws. They know how to speak to the police. So if you're ever in a situation similar, don't talk to the police. But then the OP gives us an update a few days later. Let's get into it. So thank you to everyone who responded. And I guess thank you to everyone in the DMs who accused me of torturing dogs by forcing the owners to keep them inside because, God forbid, I want to sleep in my own house. Just to allay the fears of the other nice DMs, I did not in any way, shape, or form hurt the dog. Also, a legit thank you to everyone who offered tips on anti-bark devices. The problem is these people aren't next door to us, which goes to show how loud the dogs are, so we don't have the ability to set up any sort of device. I took the advice of 99.9% of the posters and did not call the officer back on Monday night. I also showed my wife this thread, and she was pretty convinced, so thank you for all of the rational responses. I called a criminal defense attorney first thing yesterday morning. He was very cool and said that he didn't want to waste our time or any money because the chances of the DA actually pursuing this were slim to none. He did tell me to not answer any more questions, and if the police did come for me again, I could refer to him, or if God forbid they arrested me, he gave me the number of his answering service. He said that he had a good friend who worked as a detective, and he tried to put a call in to figure out off the record what was really going on. So basically, nothing happened yesterday. Of course, the other dogs are still barking, even as I typed this, but I just heard yesterday morning from the attorney, and basically he had talked to his detective friend who looked into it. Basically, regardless of what the neighbors say, there is actually zero evidence of them owning 3 dogs. In fact, the best evidence that the now dead dog ever existed were my calls to animal control, the mediation records, and the judge's ruling. The people could not provide any pictures, social media posts, any shot records, vet bills, or purchase receipts for any of the dogs, let alone one that died. They also had not done any sort of medical exam to prove the dog had been poisoned, and they immediately buried the dog in the desert when they found it dead. For all I know, they buried the dog instead of taking it to the vet. They are the trashiest people I've ever encountered. They can't even really remember where they buried it, or don't want to say. So with almost no evidence of the dog ever existing, let alone being poisoned, we shouldn't hear from the police again. So our complaint to animal control from last Thursday is still on the books. The lawyer is going to refer us to a civil attorney who thinks he will take our case to bring a civil suit against the dog owners. Our city and county ordinances very clearly state that dogs can't bark for more than 15 minutes a day, and you have the right to an expectation of quiet in your own home. The criminal lawyer doesn't know how successful we'll be, but he does think that maybe the threat of lawsuit will get them to address the barking problem, because it would be easier for them to just bring the dogs inside as opposed to a court case, which they stand a chance of losing. And all right, guys, that wraps up some true creepy Reddit threads. And wow, what a wild, wild video. These threads were truly so creepy, so scary, and so unsettling. So leave your comments down below. Would you like to see videos like this in the future? If so, please comment down below and leave your thoughts. I read every single comment. And make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know. And would you like to see more long videos like this in the future? If so, please also comment down below. And I appreciate watching to the end of the video. It means the world. You guys are the best. And if you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy some other videos on the channel. So go check out some other videos on the channel. And all right, thank you so much for watching. And this was Snook. And I'll see you next time. Bye.